VFam, welcome back to another episode of the VFam sessions. My name is Mr. Messer, but you can call me Rob, and I am so thrilled to be joined by fellow VFriend, whatnot streamer, Gift Goat, 2026 Top Scrum sketch artist, the Colossus of Clout, everything. His resume is miles long, but Mr. Josh Vajda, aka Senor Pants, Mr. Pants, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. Just Pants is fine, or Josh. Either one works, Rob. I'm doing great. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on the VFam sessions. You've been the historian of VFriends, and it's really meaningful to have the opportunity to talk to you.
So thrilled to have you. You know, Texas, I think it was the first time we got to chop it up in
Yeah.
IRL. But like many VFriends events, you get like there's so much happening, so many people, so many conversations, so much stimulation. Um, one of the great things of this podcast is to carve out time to dive deep and get to know the person behind the account, behind the PFP and whatnot. So thank you for carving out that time for us, because I know a lot of people would appreciate hearing your story. So let's take it back to the beginning. If you could give like a quick comic book one on who Josh is, before ever hearing the name Gary V, NFTs, V friends, any of that.
Yeah. So who I am, I grew up in California and New Mexico, depending on the part of my childhood you want to focus on. Split family. So would go back and visit mom in California. She's still out there. My dad and stepmom still out in New Mexico. Left never to return to either of them when I went to college back east in upstate New York. And then for the last 30 years of my life have been, let's see, Florida twice, Colorado twice, Texas now for the last 5 years. I started in the automotive industry almost out of school. I spent 17 years with America's largest automotive retailer and servicer of vehicles on the corporate side. So I ran training and development for them, among other things. I held 13 positions in the first 11 years and then led the sales function for a software division that we had, a SaaS division that AutoNation had, where it was basically marketing technology. I had the opportunity to open and run my first retail store of my own. I started South Florida's first stand-up paddleboard specialty shop called Precision Paddleboards and operated that for 5 years, grew it into 3 additional rental locations plus the physical shop that we had before I sold that. And when I left the auto industry, I went into consulting for myself. I worked with everyone from nonprofits to tech companies and retailers in sales organization development, salesperson training and development, enablement, before going into the software space full-time. So in my full-time life, my corporate job is with a technology company based in France and dual headquartered in the US. They sell procurement software, and I oversee our global sales enablement. So I work with our enterprise sellers across the globe to ensure their readiness for sales cycles. That's sort of the work background. The personal background is I'm a family man. My wife and I have been married for almost 20 years. So we have a big anniversary coming up in March of next year. We have 2 daughters and we have 3 granddaughters as well and 1 step-granddaughter in there. So yeah, family is sort of the core of my life, but that's me outside of VeeFriends.
That's amazing. Thank you for the cliff notes on that.
Yeah.
The paddleboard thing. How did the paddleboard thing come about? What's the origin of that business?
Yeah. So the origin was my wife and I, we lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time and on the ocean, and one day looked out the window and saw people standing on boards and paddling on an absolutely glass-like ocean. And thought it would be fun to try that. We went out with some friends and rented some boards and paddled, and A, I was shocked at the low level of instruction. B, I was shocked at how easy it was, how fun it was, how few choices we had in the market for picking our own. So we liked it enough to think, well, could we own these? Should we own them? We live right on the beach. We could use them frequently. And the only places that carried paddleboards were surf shops. And when we went in there, we were grown-ass adults and had disposable income, and we weren't going in to buy a skateboard, or we weren't in the surf culture. We were a different market. And it was difficult to have conversations about what I thought was important versus what they did. So for them, they were just big versions of surfboards, and they wanted to talk about surfing. And neither my wife nor I wanted to really get out there for surfing, but it was exercise, it was getting out on the ocean, it was calm days and flat days, it was the riverways, the waterways in the river that we were going to be using them on. And so I saw an opportunity in the market. I started to ask a lot of other paddleboarders about it, and I saw that the market that was purchasing paddleboards was very different than the market that was purchasing surfboards. And so it was ripe for a specialty retailer. So I gathered the necessary funds and opened up a small shop across the street from the beach in Lauderdale, almost up to Lauderdale by the Sea. That's how it came about.
That's awesome. I used to go to, my grandparents lived in Broward County there. I used to
Yeah,
visit them probably 2, 3 times a year. Great, special place in my heart, Fort Lauderdale.
same with
So,
me. Love it out there. Miss it from time to time.
and you're in Texas now, you said.
Yeah, my wife and I live in Plano, just north of Dallas.
And before, I don't want to skip too much over the timeline, but I was peeking at your shows, and did I see correctly that there's Mrs. Pants is going
Yes.
to make an appearance? Has she ever appeared before? Or is this
Yes, and
okay?
so she's not a big fan of being referred to as Mrs. Pants. It will be Senora Shoes.
Senor Shoes, excuse me.
She did
Yes.
not take my last name, my last Web3 name. She got her own. And yes, she streams with me now once a month. We've been doing that. I think the one coming up next week on Chrome launch day will be her fifth show with me. We have a great deal of fun doing it together. So yes, she's been streaming. She's very polished on camera because she had a podcast that she and a partner did for 150 something episodes. She produces content for others, so she's a personal branding content producer. So she's very much used to being either behind or in front of the camera, and it's really a joy to be able to stream together and have our relationship extended and exposed to everybody. Huge
Yes,
fun.
from firsthand experience, I can totally sign off on that.
Yeah,
It,
I was going to say you have a little bit of experience in this area.
amazing. So let's get into it.
Great.
I know you have NFT experience, but how did you get
Yeah.
into this world? Hearing about VFriends, hearing about NFTs, whichever came first, and how they ultimately came together.
Yeah, interest in the blockchain came first. So I remember this very clearly. My wife and I lived in Austin. We had moved out there and we were sitting on the porch being porch people. It was our first time with a porch. It was awesome. Anyway, I was talking about technology in general and I said, I don't ever want to be the old man telling the kids to get off my lawn. And so when I saw blockchain and NFT tech, I said, I think that this actually has the chance to be the next wave of societally transformational technology. And I wanted to dig in and dive into that and really go full bore. And so I saw NFTs as a good way to do that. I thought that digital identities were going to be important. I still think digital identities are going to be important. I thought the tokenization of assets made a great deal of sense. And I really loved the fact that NFTs gave artists in communities around the world that might not have had access to a market, to capital markets and to customers. I thought it gave them the opportunity to really uplift themselves, expose themselves to these new collectors and markets that they otherwise would never have had the chance to do. And so I found that all very exciting. And that's why I went into NFTs, was for those reasons. I collected a lot of art initially, none of the big projects. So
Mhm.
Fidenza, for instance, Tyler Hobbs. Tyler was an artist in Austin, where we lived. I could see his murals on buildings. I never bought a Fidenza. So I missed some of the big ones, but the important thing about art is not always to chase what's big, but to buy what you love. And so I made connections with an awful lot of artists. The first time I was introduced to VeeFriends was actually through an art project, Women and Weapons. So Sarah Bauman, who's the artist behind Women and Weapons, and has done art for Gary and for VeeFriends. Gary bought her first NFTs and really sort of launched her career in Web3 that way. Through her project, she had introduced a lot of people in her Discord community to VeeFriends. I didn't really understand Gary and Gary's approach at that time. I didn't mint a Series 1. I didn't buy a Series 1 until 2020. So I had a Series 2 when I was attending VeeCon 2. I bought it there, then and there, after the opening session with Benny Big Fish. I was sitting on the lawn, and in between him and the next session, I went on and I grabbed a Series 2 because I enjoyed the experience of VeeCon and the people we had met and the content that was being provided. So that really connected me to Gary and the NFT project more than what was being promoted on Twitter and what the project was and the chasing of the speculative assets. Like it was much more about the value I got in that moment.
Mm. Uh, just to take a step back a little, I just want to go back to
Yeah,
what you said. When you said you didn't totally agree with Gary's approach, what do you
I didn't
mind elaborating on
understand.
that?
I didn't say I didn't
Oh, you
agree. I
didn't.
didn't
Got it.
understand it. Like, so I was, I was very, I certainly had bought into some hype projects, but I was really focused on artists. And
Mm.
so when I saw Gary's Series 1 drawings, I had not followed Gary before VeeFriends. What's funny is I look back into content, I realize I followed Gary in the wine guy days, but I was very much into wine at one point in time,
Interesting.
even designing an app on how to match foods and wines at one point in my life. And so Gary's content back then was in my field of vision, but I wasn't. So when I saw the Series 1 drawings, I dismissed them initially because to me, he wasn't an artist who was releasing it. I
Mm.
get what he was doing now. I understand the background story behind why he wanted to draw all the characters himself and why he did it that way. But initially, I did not understand that. And so I rejected them on the premise of not being fine art or good art. And so it wasn't that I didn't agree with it, it just didn't
Mm.
connect with me from an art perspective.
And you're not alone.
I don't think I
There
am.
there were many in that boat, and also like it's worth calling out at that time, especially. A lot of people still call him a grifter. Like it's very easy to
Oh,
look at
sure.
that time and say, oh, this guy's got a community, got a big following. He's just going to throw some stuff out there and make it for a big cash grab. So it's very, I mean, that was the majority of people. I would
Yeah.
go as far as saying.
Yeah, I didn't have that reaction to him. Like I never considered him to be in the category of grifters. I mean, he was, yes, he was visible, and yes, he had kind of celebrity status, but I didn't see him in the same way as people who were a drop and run, which you saw
Mm.
with a lot of influential people, where there was a team running a project and they were releasing things with that person's name on it, whether that was Shaq's project or others like it,
Yeah.
but that celebrity was not actually engaged, involved, and connected. Gary was never like that. He never fit that model. He was always front, center, engaged, and very much driving the project. So I've never considered him anything but an entrepreneur, a business owner, a leader, and that's how I still consider him.
Mm. So you're not you didn't get in the ecosystem till you said VCon 2, which is 23.
Yeah.
But were you tapped into the Discord on Twitter? Like, did you have a pulse on what was happening, or not so much?
Yeah, I had a pulse in Discord. I would say high level. I didn't spend a ton of time in the community. Really, the first big connection was going to VeeCon 2 in 2023 in Indy.
How'd you
That's
end up
when,
there?
really through the same communities that I had been a part of, like Deadfellas, Betty was going to speak.
Yeah.
Sarah was going to speak. There were a lot of others in projects that I was in that were heading to VeeCon, and so I saw it as a Web3 conference. I saw it as a chance to connect with other project leaders who I was already collecting or following or working with, and so that's why I wanted to go to VeeCon. And because I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I saw that there was a lot of content with that, and so is my wife, we saw it as a good chance to go and learn and to see some speakers who we otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to. And so it was really, those were the things that sort of interested me in VeeCon and first connected me to the VeeFriends community. And so I really was not I wasn't connected to many people who I think would be pointed out as OGs and central figures in the VeeFriends community until that event.
And did anything strike you as far as the kinds of people that were associating? Like
Yeah.
the 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 tip with the run of the mill. I don't want to like beat our chest, but the common themes are like this is a kind group of people. Like, oh, someone shared this with me. Someone offered me to tag along. Any experiences like that?
Absolutely. It was incredibly easy to make friends. I mean, legitimately, to connect with people, to make friends, to tag along, to experience things that I had not been invited to before. And that included everything from like the field day games where everybody was there and wanting to play and compete. It was very much an adult play kind of event, and I loved that. I still had not connected with many of the characters at that point, and one of the things I remember from that is people wearing merchandise, which, hey, back in the earlier days of Web3, every project that launched, one of the first questions that holders would ask is when merch, right? And so to show up and see people actually wearing branded gear and their favorite characters and talking about them, I remember those interactions very clearly because they had perspectives on the characters already, and not only on the collectible nature, but on why they connected with them. But in terms of the people, it's why we went back to the next VeeFriends VeeCon. It's why I bought my Series 2 initially while I was sitting there. And eventually it's why I bought my Series 1 and then kept reinvesting, because it's the people in the community who really brought the project to life for me, and who have who I've made meaningful connections with and considered to be good friends in my life now. And that all started there at VeeCon 2. So I remember going into was it there at the garage sale? That was all inside. Yeah, seeing the garage sale and all of the collectors who had like early merchandise and the lines for like Series 2 TCG boxes and people playing like in the hallways or in the like on the upper level. Like that was the community to me, is people who were passionately engaged and looking for others to connect with.
$140 a box, I think.
Don't
Seriously.
remind me.
From that was from VFriends. That
Yes.
was from Direct.
Yeah.
It was
And
a
I got
different time.
nothing.
Did you stumble? Were you there at that card night at the end, the last night?
No,
No.
I was
Interesting.
not. So I still wasn't, at that point, I still wasn't really
In the physicals.
integrated into the community,
Yeah.
and really did not understand either the collectible aspects of it or the different ways people were engaging with it.
Mm.
VeeCon 2 for me started with the content and that the speakers were giving and the opportunities we had for that. The opportunity for me to see and meet with artists, because there were a lot of them that were there. Jen Stark was there, and Eddie Gangland was there, and a lot of the OG artists in Web3 who I followed and whose work I really appreciated. So again, I had a different way of getting into the community than most did, because art led me there.
Mm. That's
And
that's very unique.
yeah, when most people connected through Gary or through collectibles, and I got there through the artists.
Which is going to be, I mean, just the population of, as we move on the timeline here, the population of people just getting in through the actual VFriends NFT is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking while the collectibles
That's
goes
right.
up. But for you to be like that, miscellaneous art is gonna be that like tiny sliver on the pie chart when it's all said and done. What you said about the shirts, and I mean the When merch, that's such a great meme of that timeline, that era. But
Yeah,
the fact that it's going to be such a special time, now that the comics are out, we'll get into the comics in a second, but they're writing the stories, like we're being told the origins of these characters. But for those
yeah,
first few years, from mint day 21 to 24 or 25 and 26 and forever onward during this canon era, like people were putting their own thoughts into it. They were putting their own spin and their own connections, which is very special. And it's going to be hard as we, as we learn who Notorious Ninja is and Adventurous
Yeah.
Astronaut. It's going to be hard to separate that. So I think it's worth a call out of this special time where people connected with literally no context, just the name of the character.
I mean, look who's on the wall behind me,
Yeah.
right? Patient Panda has no story yet. Patient Panda doesn't even have an appearance in Topps Chrome. No comic book, but Patient Panda, widely regarded as one of the top 5 characters in the VeeFriends universe. The only way people have connected with them is through their own storytelling in their own heads. Like, why is Patient Panda one of the biggest characters? We don't know. But to your point, like the character that I connect with traits before I connect with characters, and so it's no secret I chase the Driven Dragon now, and kept that a secret for as long as I possibly could until I acquired an NFT of the dragon that took me 9 months to negotiate on. So Driven is the thing for me. But if you had told me, it would not have changed my mind. If you had told me Driven Dragon was a girl before the comic book story came out, I had no way of knowing that. Nobody did. We all had our own stories of the characters that we connected with, and so yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like it's going to change how people engage versus how they did in the alpha age. So
And on the note of the Patient Panda, super cool stat, for historically speaking, that the one character left out of the first 2 years of Topps Chrome, and you tweeted this out, Patient Panda.
yeah,
Very,
yeah.
very
That was
cool
actually the
addition.
first thing I went to look for when they said, it was 100 the first year, it's 149 the second year. And I said, there's a character missing. What's the character? And so it took me about a minute before I realized, like I started to go through it line by line, one character at a time. And I got about 20 characters in and I went, I'm going to go check patient. I think that's how Gary thinks. Like, today they released the Gritty Ghost variant. Did you see that?
No, I missed that.
So Gritty Ghost has a variant in Topps Chrome 2026, and that variant card has nothing on it. It says Gritty Ghost at the bottom. It's the base card design,
Amazing.
invisible. And so like I bring that up because one of the hidden values in the VeeFriends project and Collectibles universe and the way that VeeFriends approaches things is joy or fun. And so leaving Patient Panda out of the first 2 is really connected to the brand's ethos and to Gary's content, right? Patience being supremely important. And that's kind of a message I think he continues to share with holders and the general market. But it's also fun. Like, it's clever to do things like that. It's clever to take Gritty Ghost and have a card without Gritty Ghost actually appearing on it because he's a ghost. It's clever to have 3 variants of wine for Last Glass Standing. Like this tells you that they care about the fun that goes into collecting, not just about the flip or the money that they make off the licensing, or there's real thought that goes into the experience for us. So
And time and time again, they show exactly that throughout the products, throughout the just the moments where they try to give back, whether it's a bonus gift or
yeah,
something extra for the community, surprise and delights all over that we don't see every day. Time and time again, it's a through line. So how give us the moment or two. Or how did you get into physicals? Like you were, let's take it to 2026. Where are your stats here? So one of the premier community streamers on Whatnot and
that's
Whatnot.
kind. Thank you.
That's a whole other 4 hours we can do on the evolution of Whatnot. Going from Fanatics Live to
Yeah,
okay, this works to Whatnot. Whatnot's exploded, both internally at VeeFriends and as a company. But your Senor Pants is sitting at 2,500 followers, 4,000 over 4,000 sold, knocking on the door of 1,000 reviews, 5.0 rating. So how do you go from? Give us the evolution of getting your Series 2 at VeeCon 2,
Yeah.
ultimately getting a Series 1, but getting into the physical collectibles and getting into the streaming game.
So up on my wall behind my head, you can see a case, and you can't really tell what cards are in there, but most of the ones in there aren't VeeFriends. They're actually football cards. And that was how I saw collecting initially, was a connection to my favorite sport. I'm an American football fan. I'm a Packers fan. And so I collected physical sports cards. Heck, back in my childhood, I collected other things. I had a lot of baseball cards, but I had Marvel cards, and I found a lot of those things during COVID, like most people did. And I decided, you know what, I really wanted to continue to build my physical cards collection and other memorabilia from sports. So when I got into VeeFriends, adding cards was a really natural thing for me. So that's how I got into the card collecting for VeeFriends. Now, how did I get into the streaming? Well, Gary kept telling people, go try it. Right? In October of 2024, I had been attending some of the Whatnot streams, and I saw where VeeFriends was going. At least I thought I saw where VeeFriends was going. It was my own story of where VeeFriends was going, but what I saw was something I'd been looking for in NFT projects for years. And that was, what's their business model? How are they generating revenue? How are they going to sustain? How are they going to grow their IP? And when I saw people who were passionately connected to the brand and buying collectibles on Whatnot, and I saw the production value and the skill that went into doing that, and Gary talking about the impact of social selling, I bought my first Series 1 because I thought, and look, November of 24 was a really good time to buy a Series 1. I think the floor
Yes.
was like 0.57, 0.58 the day that I bought, which, hey, if only those days lasted. But
Today's
it
not so bad either with the market, but
today
that's another
is not
story.
so bad. Today is not so bad. It's a bad day for people who are heavy into relying on ETH and Bitcoin, but it's a good day from an asset value perspective because, yeah, ETH is down. But I bought that first Series 1 because I saw what the brand was doing on live social selling. And because Gary kept talking about it, I thought, all right, I'm going to go give it a try. And in late November, I did my first stream. And it was me and my Android phone camera going live on Whatnot and starting to sell. And I thought, this is fun. I split a Series 1 box not long after that with Bren, another community member who runs VeeFriends Spaces every week with Hemdog. So he and I had connected. We came sort of into the Series 1 community at about the same time. We were in Discord at that time quite a bit together. And so we split a Series 1 box, and I ripped that on Whatnot. And I thought it was a really efficient way to sell, B, a very fun way to connect with the community and the products, and C, a way for me to use skills that I had developed throughout my life and career. And so I've continued to invest in the production quality and in my streams and to make connections with people who have product that they need to bring to market. So I do a lot of consignment for goats and for spec holders and access token holders. So that's how I got into it, and why I continue to do it is I think it is a super fun way to connect with the community and to bring product into their hands and out of the hands of others who may not be able or willing to sell on their own. So I can provide a good service, and that's important to me. I want to contribute to the community and provide value. But B, man, I love doing it. There's no other way for me to say it. Is I really love it because it just allows me to use all of the skills I've focused my entire life on developing. So
And
that's
you
how I
have
did it.
a very signature voice, beloved voice. One of the I know one of the moments that I remember tuning into you. Well, you're in Texas, and you were one of the first people to get those Topps Chrome
I
boxes.
got the first. I
Oh,
got
excuse me,
and
the
broke
first.
the first. Yes, it was the first
That's
box
right. I
of
know.
Topps
I
Chrome
thought I couldn't.
2025.
I couldn't remember. I know it was the same time, but you and whiskey. I remember. you Whiskey and
and
Ben.
MKMK. So I think
That's
I
right. And
think that Michael Sampson and Whiskey got him right after I did. So yeah.
all right. Thank you for, I need the actual facts. All right. So Senor Pants, first 2025 Topps Chrome rip.
Hmm.
But ultimately, I remember, you're flipping through the shows there, and it's like all these like loud music, crazy people screaming, and then you get to the
Yeah.
Senor Pants, and it's this just cool, calm, collected, totally articulate, intelligent, and just the whole aura of a Senor Pants show is different in the best way than anywhere else. So yeah, let's go to that moment. Like you're ripping the first, and all eyes are
Yeah.
on you. Before VeeFriends, before everybody.
I had just come back the night before from, I think I was gone for 8 or 9 days overseas. And I got home and I was not feeling well. I mean, I was dragging and sick and sitting at my desk and trying to catch up after 8 or 9 days out of work or off of work and out of the office. And so I've got a day filled with meetings and the doorbell rings and I go and get it and it's like 3 days early because, you know, the street date was not even, like, none of the shops had it yet. How was I expecting? I expected nothing. And suddenly I have hobby boxes in my hand. And so I bring it into my office. I go back, I sit down, and it was like 11 o'clock, 11:15. And I have all these, I have these meetings that I'm in and I'm catching up and I'm sending people stuff and I feel like crap. And I kept about every 20 seconds looking over my shoulder at this damn hobby box that's sitting on my desk. And I literally said, "Hey, can we swear on your show? Are you okay with that?"
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I out loud to myself and nobody else in the office said, "Fuck it, I'm opening it."
Yeah,
And I turned around, and people who were on the show might remember I said, "I have a meeting I'm supposed to be in, but screw it, I'm going to keep going." Because I blew off a work meeting that I was supposed to be in attendance for to continue ripping that box. And I did not want to wait anymore. So it was like an hour after the box had gotten in. I'm like, I'm just going to open it. And at that time, I didn't know that I was the first one to do it. But when I went live, I knew right then. Nobody else was live. Nobody else had them. I had sent a message in Discord like, "I got my box. Anyone else?" No, no, no. And I think MK sent me a note and said, "I just got mine too." And I had just gone live. So I think he went right after, if I'm remembering correctly. So that's kind of the story behind it. When I was ripping it, I still felt exactly the same way I felt in the morning, like crap, except I was fully energized and thrilled to be doing it. And so, talking about the fun and the joy, even when you feel bad, man, there's an emotional lift you get from doing stuff like this. And so I will always remember ripping open that first box, hitting things that we didn't know existed in the product,
yeah,
hitting, like, that first box had a Kevin Hart auto in it, and it had a 1975 bold as heck bat, and it had a wide-eyed cat, and it had his other hits in it. The wide-eyed cat was a complete surprise. I had hit a cat in the box and everybody celebrates, yay. And I hit a second cat almost at the end, and I started to go to put it on the giveaway stand. I'm like, oh, I got two cats. And somebody put in there, it has different color eyes. And so I set it off to the side. I set it up with all the others, and I'm like, you're right, it does. We got yellow eyes and we got white eyes. And I think Gary was in there and he said, they're starting to understand.
yeah. Oh, I remember
That
that.
was his
Yeah,
comment in there. And I'm like, there's stuff hidden in the product we don't even know about.
yeah.
So
Totally
it
right.
was super fun. It was energizing. It was, for me, a real moment in time that I'll hold on to. Thanks for
I
taking me back to it.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan, and they're so seldom now. Before, you know, there was a small amount of streamers. It was primarily Series One boxes, and
Yeah.
everybody was there. Everybody was there. And now with all the channels, like, and all the products, that rarely happens. But for
Yeah.
that, you being number one, like, everybody was there. Gary tweeted, VeeFriends tweeted, like, this is happening. I think.
Yeah. That was my second most attended show.
Do you recall roughly how many people
I think
that
at peak we
consumed?
were 120 something.
Mm.
Yeah.
In the middle of
My
the day, right? In the middle of
middle
a
of the
work
day.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
awesome. What a moment. First time ever VFriends Tops Chrome. I know Gary ripped a pack maybe like in his kitchen or something.
Yes.
But as far as,
The first box.
the first box, community, everyone there, interaction, that was it. Very cool. And of course, we're talking June 4th, 2026, less than a week away from the release date of Topps Chrome 2026, which is shaping up to be, and what we've been told is that it's going to be blow last year out of the water.
It's an incredible set. Like I don't think Gary is exaggerating because look, I'm a studious guy. I believe in preparation. Like I think when you talk about you come into my shows, hopefully one of the things you get is education. Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
know you value that. You've put together these VFam sessions and the history of VFriends, and I want to show respect to that. And so I put a lot of time, energy, and effort into learning about the product before I ever open it on stream. And my God, is there a lot to try to wrap your head around? I'm not going to get everything right. I know it for the first few streams, especially because it's a massive set. It is complex and intentionally so, and it is what I see beautifully constructed. Like they continue to set an example for how a non-sports IP especially should be putting sets together. And I think this really extends upon a lot of the successes and ignores a lot of the things that maybe didn't work as well as they wanted in 2025. There weren't a lot of misses. I can't even call them that, just they weren't optimal. But I think they've done a lot of experimenting in this one to provide some unique opportunities for collectors and chasers and breakers. It's really cool. It's a phenomenal set. I cannot wait to open. And seeing Gary open two boxes today, I started to have the itch. Like, is my doorbell going to ring today?
Yeah.
I'm
Now
I'm an
you're
hour
now you're
away
expecting
from their distribution center in what is it in Mesquite.
it.
So I'm hoping. Well, I think they probably hit retailers today, and in a couple of days we may start seeing holders get that early or initial pre-sale orders get their early boxes.
It's an exciting time. This comics craze mixed with Chrome. There's just a lot. But I mean, from a business point of view, I think kudos to them for.
Yeah,
I know they're doing a lot of construction internally with the comics as it's growing, but pause pause comics to let this Chrome craziness take over, I think might be a little underrated business move on their part.
it's a great move. I know that a lot of the comic collectors, where the heat has really been over the last couple of months, I know they may, want more comics right now, but putting the focus where it should be, not a bad idea. And they legitimately, I think, were planning on making adjustments anyway. So
Sure.
good timing.
What better time?
Good
And
timing.
it just goes to show you how it's going when comics are white hot. Like they couldn't be
Yeah,
hotter. And to say, all right, we're stopping, that's when you know it's
it's
going
pretty
well.
wild. Yeah.
So on the topic of Topps Chrome, and I'll let you weave your answer however you want to take this, but you're known, or maybe not so known. I'm aware that you do sketch cards, or you enjoy creating them, but you
I do.
also had the honor this year of not only ripping Topps Chrome 2026 but being asked to be a sketch artist in there. So I would love to go to that moment, but also if you don't mind briefing us on your history of your sketching.
Yeah, happy to and appreciate that. I didn't even know I wanted to be a top scrum sketch artist until last year when community members were selected, right? I and I saw their sketches in the set, and it actually pushed me to do more physical art. And so that was actually the impetus for me to begin doing sketching. I had done digital art prior to that. And so most of my artwork had been done digitally. So you can look at, I created, if you go on my timeline, you'll see I created new characters or tribute characters for people. I did my own renditions of their favorite VFriends for them, and all of those were digital. They were not done in physical sketches. And last year, when Topps Chrome was released, and I saw community members who were selected as sketch artists, and I started to hit and collect some of those sketch cards myself, not just from community members, but from other artists, I said, I want to push myself. I have a mindset of constant improvement, right? And to continue to challenge myself. And I have some physical issues that prevent me from competing in sports. And so often what I do now is I compete with myself. And I find activities that I can engage in that give me an opportunity to get better. And sketching is one of those things. So VeeFriends and the Chrome sketch cards was an excuse for me to begin physically sketching. And so really it's only been a year of physical sketch work that I have been doing compared to the few years that I've done in digital. I've always been a doodler, I've always been a drawer, but never with any real formal training. And now with grandkids, especially one who is very passionate about art, like she has an art lesson at our house with an artist tomorrow, and she's 10 years old and she's quite talented at it. We now, when she comes over for sleepovers, we'll sit down and we'll do sketch cards for each other. Like that was one of the activities we started last year. And then I extended on that, and when I was at the National last year, I brought blank sketch cards with me, and I put myself under the pressure to sketch for community members. I had never done that before. I had never worked without an eraser before, or tried to draw characters like this. And so, that's been my journey for drawing sketch cards. It's what are people's favorites? How can I do something that is meaningful to them with a character that they care about and still fulfill something in me that I'm working on? And so that's where sketch cards came from. I had no expectation that I would be a sketch artist this year. I didn't lobby for it. I asked once what the process would be. But there wasn't known at that time to be a process. Like Gary said, we don't know, Pants. We don't know yet. And I left it at that. And others have suggested that I should or could be, and that was really meaningful and touching for me, that people would think of me in that way, when really this was a personal exercise to get better and to, again, give value to community members who connect with their favorite characters. So when I was selected, when I got the call, I think Jeremy would tell you, I was shocked that I was selected as a community sketch artist, and immediately after shock, I was terrified. So I then had to start putting the work in to ensure that when I got one sketch card, one blank canvas card, and a couple of days to work on it, that I was ready. And I only had like 2 days to prep for it because they shipped it the same day. So I was
Quick
terrified.
turnaround.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm so grateful, and it makes me want to do much, much more in terms of sketch cards for people. So expect more of those this year.
Amazing. I know people would love to hear that. So I think we could speculate what character you did. I know you were debating whether to show it early. Did you ever end up showing it? I don't know if
I
I
didn't
saw
show
it.
it.
Okay.
I did not show it. I talked to a couple of the other artists. I considered it myself. It's special, I will share it as sketches start to be shared.
Mm.
I'm not chasing my own sketch card. One of the things, I talked to Aria. Aria is my 10-year-old granddaughter, and she collaborated with me on this. She didn't know she was going to. I did the character design. I then did the sketching, then I did the hard line work, so I put it in ink, and so the character was on the card. And then she came over for a surprise visit, and I told her she was going to do the background on a sketch card that was going to be in Topps Chrome. And I explained that this is going to be one card in millions of cards that get distributed around the world, and somebody somewhere is going to tear open a pack, and our card's going to be in there. So a 10-year-old has a sketch card in Topps Chrome and is a on the checklist artist, and somewhere in the world someone's going to pull that. Dude, I get emotional thinking about it, and so I'm not chasing it. Part of the magic to me is that something that we created, that she and I created, is going to be in a pack somewhere. And if it ever makes its way back to me, okay. But if it makes its way into somebody else's collection, my God, how cool is that? Like, I had zero expectation I would ever do something like that, But to be able to provide her with an opportunity to do that, that's that's above everything, man. It's so cool.
So special to share that. And
Yeah,
kudos, I mean, kudos to you, man. So special, and she's gonna have that for the rest of her life.
rest of her life, man.
Just
Yeah,
the experience of doing with you, but just the you know just the flex to say, hey, like
and
look at
I'll
this
confirm
is
for
what I
you,
did.
it's the dragon. Okay,
All right, so I would have won even
it's the
money.
dragon. You would have won money. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I was thankful to get the chance to draw that. They gave me no choice. And
Yeah,
I would have chosen it anyway. So
of
I'm
course.
good. Yeah.
What a great moment, and that's I mean that's my favorite part of this whole thing. One of I mean there's many, but just to share with those experiences with family, not those experiences per se, but special experiences
Yeah.
around the characters, around this IP, whether it be connected to collectibles. Now it's hard not to be connected to collectibles, but boy, is it fun to share with the
Agreed.
little ones, the next generation. On the just to kind of to tie up the whole Topps Chrome streaming chapter, you tweeted out something along, I think I may have inadvertently deleted it, but something along the lines of, I highly recommend doing something terrifying from time to time. I don't have the date, but a lot of people see the streaming that's been going on, and it's hard to turn on whatnot and not have a VFriend stream. More and more are coming out, but more and more people are streaming, curious, want to do it. What's like one piece of advice you would offer to someone thinks that thinks it's attainable, it's right there, maybe they have a little funds to have a little inventory and to start, but they're just something's kind of pulling them back? What's something you as a seasoned streamer now would give them as one piece of pants of advice?
My goodness. That question's really hard for me because I think situationally, and I want to know a little bit about that person I'm giving advice to. So
Mm.
I'll give you I'm going to break the rules and I'll give you a couple of pieces. First, if you're thinking about streaming, go to Jake Breaks Live and take a look at the guide he put together for new streamers. A lot of lessons that he learned as a new streamer or as a streamer that he wishes he had known at the beginning. I think that's a wonderful piece of content that he's produced and very helpful to new streamers. So I'll give that piece of advice, which isn't even my advice, it's Jake's. So good job, Jake, and go get that if you're a new streamer. But the one piece of advice I think that goes overlooked for streamers is don't expect, I like giving don'ts as often as I give do's, don't expect that people are just going to show up. You can put a ton of work into your setup, to your collection, to what you have in your shop. You can do all the market research that you want. But you also have to spend time getting people to come to you. Whatnot's a wonderful platform. Any of the streaming, the live social selling services are great, regardless of what platform you go on. They have an audience. They are going to help you market for sure. But you also have to find a way to stand out and to attract people that want to purchase what you have or at least interact with you. And so spend as much time on the connections and the marketing side as you spend on the show setup and planning side. And if you're not putting any work into the show setup and planning side, do that. Like that is critical to running a good show, but if you do that already and you're not seeing the people, it means you're not putting time, energy, and effort into connecting with the right people, putting your value proposition in front of them, and marketing your shows. So that's where I would go with advice right now.
Wonderful, super practical.
I get that way.
Communities. We have a I'm biased, but we have a great community. I call it the
Agreed.
greatest world, but it's also full of sub communities, streamers, teachers, whatever. The list goes on. Some are organic, some are man made. The gift goats are a man made VFriends community, 555 holders. Well, less than that when you think of how many people, multiple, but
Mhm.
you are a member of that. I'd love to hear your quick. How'd you enter that, and how has your experience been as a V friend since joining that sub community?
Yeah, you and I could spend an hour on gift goats. I won't. And I think there are better people who would probably get much deeper than I would on the history and the lore of gift goats, and you've had a lot of them on your show. So I bought my first goat in January of 2025. So my first Series 1 was a very rare logical lion. And after having gotten that and gotten deeper into the community and started streaming, one of the things I noticed is that gift goats were the best return on an NFT purchase of any NFT out there. And so it became a priority for me to get it from an investment perspective first. And I'll explain what happened very quickly thereafter next. But I saw it as the dividend NFT. Like at the price levels we were at when I bought it, I figured that I was going to get better than any dividend stock I could buy. And NFTs are not stock. I'm not conflating the two, but comparing where my dollars go, if I could get $1,000 of gifts and I know they weren't guaranteed and I could flip those every year, then I knew I had a 3.5 to 5 year payback period on it. I'm like, that is way better. And the thing is still going to have value. That is way better than what I could get by putting my money somewhere else. That was my initial thesis on the gift goat. Was Gary's nickname is the gift goat, right? He's going to continue to surprise and delight. I do not think that the gift goat is a dead NFT with no future gifts coming. I was correct. Sapphire came shortly thereafter. That was one heck of a boon. It paid for the goat in and of itself. So that was my first thesis. What I did not really understand, that I have tried to tell as many people as would listen to me, is that the community that holds gift goats is an incredible network. And so you talk about the sub-communities in there, and I've had the privilege of joining the Spectacular community now and the Access community with the Hangout Hawk. But the goats are different. And the value that you get from the network of gift goat holders is in excess of what you get from the gifts you get from a gift goat. And it is so very special to be part of that community, and the knowledge that is held within it, and the resources that they are and have access to, and the generous and genuine nature of every single person that I have met who is a gift goat holder. Just phenomenal. So that's the why I get a gift goat, but it's also why I continue to have and have bought a second one. Now my wife has a gift goat. So yeah, we're a 2 gift goat household. She got to claim her first gift recently, which was awesome. It was the coin and then the hobby box. So she was very excited about that.
Very cool. It's a special, really special subplot of this whole thing. The gift goats. Amazing. Community we obviously comes up a lot in this convo because we're a community driven operation here.
Yeah.
You know, where's VeeFriends without the community? But it's a word that gets tossed around a lot. I'm curious, someone is so intellectual and logical as you are. What does that word mean to you, community?
Oh boy. When I was at the National last year, a woman came up to the VeeFriends booth and she was looking at the cards and characters. And I said, anyone in the community can help you. And she said, okay. And we kept talking for a minute and I said the word community again. And she said, I don't understand what you mean when you say the word community. And it was a moment of realization that other collectibles don't have what we have. Other booths that were there at the National don't have people that showed up who are passionately connected to the brand and to each other. That, how do we define community? It is the people who, whether they collect or not, are connected to the messages, the values, the ethos, the traits, and that share that with other people. To me, that's what the community is. And your sub-communities, your sub-branches that you talked about, who hold certain things or collect certain things, that's all real. But you can be connected to the brand and to the people who are also connected to it without ever owning anything. And so that's what I consider the community to be, is the people who are connected to what VeeFriends stands for and to the people who also connect with the same thing.
Mm.
Is that a fair definition?
I love that answer, and thank you for sharing that anecdote too,
Yeah.
because that's
It was
another
a moment.
receipt on a long list of receipts of what makes us stand out here. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Couple last questions here before we hit our final segment.
Yeah.
A ton of characters, over 250 characters. I'm curious, which one do you Pants need to spend more time with to get by osmosis to get more of their trait injected in you?
Yeah. Boy, I love that question because I think a lot about traits and strengths, right? I bought the logical ion specifically because, yeah, I'm logical and I use that in my work life. And I wanted a reminder. I got caught up in hype a lot in 21 and 22. I picked logical because I wanted that reminder, right? I think that tolerant is one that I would like to say I'm a very tolerant person. And at the same time, when somebody disagrees with what I would say are closely held beliefs, I may not be particularly tolerant. And so that may be one of the traits that I think is good for me to continue to focus on and work on, to bring more to the surface. I've tried that a lot over the last years because we're in a very heated and conflicted kind of macro environment, right? Where people are quick to share extreme beliefs and only connect with those who share the same ones. And so I've tried to focus much more on the understanding part, but that's not enough. And so the tolerance side is to me also part of accepting who somebody is and what they believe without trying to change them overtly or start conflict with them simply because of a difference in beliefs. So that's what I would say I would need to work more on.
That's fantastic. That's the first tolerant tuna we've gotten. Fantastic.
Can I go with tortoise? Thank you.
Yes,
I'll go
you're
with
allowed.
tolerant tortoise. Yeah. There's a reason there's two of them, I guess.
Uh, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. I have my TVL brain, the tolerant tuna. So, lastly, so much content. He's obviously the overarching figure of this.
Yeah.
Gary, what's something he's taught you? Just consuming what he has to say through the characters, or quick one-on-one maybe you've had.
Man, there's a lot. The first was, I mean, we touched on how I got into streaming,
Hmm.
right? The just do it or just try it mentality, the take the action that Gary has, that has been something that I've used over the last couple of years in following his content on a regular basis, right? As almost a personal mantra. Because I mentioned to you, kind of full circle, right? Sitting on the porch and thinking, I don't want to be the old man who yells at kids to get off his lawn. I want to understand and I want to. His content is connected with me consistently on the, okay, well, then do something about it, right? I can get in my head a lot. And I am a fairly cerebral person. And so I can think and I can plan and I can get stuck in that. Now I'm an entrepreneur and I'm action oriented. And believe me, at work, I push people into the action, but do I do it for myself as often? And so I have really valued his action orientation and his stop talking and do it kind of attitude. It's helped me build a business in consignments and collectibles over the last year and a half that I otherwise probably would have been much more cautious about. So I'll start there as the big thing that I've gotten from him over the last year and a half is you get to a point where you got to be the eager eagle. You got to actually go after the thing and take action. So that's
100%. And before we're gonna hit our last segment here in a second, but let's on the consignment thing. Just for people that might be not fully understand what that means when you take consignments, I'd
yeah.
love for you to clarify that, and then shill anything you want in the show. I know you have some big ones coming up. If we just carve out a minute for that.
Yeah, I'll be swift about this. Consignment is you assigning product to somebody to sell on your behalf. When you do that, the person who is the consignor, right, the person who is, or consignee, pardon me, the one who is running the show or selling on your behalf is going to take a commission, but is going to be responsible for the marketing and the selling of that product. So whatever you need to do to come to an agreement in advance usually includes minimum threshold of what you would sell for or need to earn from it and the commission that you will provide them with. There's other elements that go into that when it comes to like show type, if you have a preference or method by which they sell. So some people will want their goods sold by any means necessary, whatever marketplace that is or method that the seller would use. Others are very specific and want their product to be sold only to the community in break form or on a live stream. So that's what consignment is at the most general. You own a product, you want somebody else to sell it, you assign it to them to do so, but you have an agreement in place of how you get paid and how they get paid. And I have built that business up largely through the sub-communities you talked about. Like when I got a goat, I realized goats have years of inventory that nobody else does. And last weekend, I ran a consignment stream for a goat who had years of collectibles that are hard to get, hard to find. And there are collectors out there who have never seen things like, and I was included in this, the King Saladin print that was given to them, the art print. It's phenomenal. The goat milk bottle that Beeple collaborated with VeeFriends on, I sold one of those. The knife that Mariko Malmasi designed for VeeFriends was sold on my stream last weekend, owned by a gift goat. And so like I don't have to shill a particular stream coming up. I work a lot on consignment. Many of my Chrome streams that are coming up will be consigned product, because to me that's the value I provide to the community, is to be the connector between those who hold the product and those who want the product. And so I run more consignment streams than I run personal streams, because it's the value that I think I give.
And if you love doing it, it's a win-win.
I do.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really enjoyed, getting a chance to meet you in Texas, and for this time, very, very amazing to have you in our world.
It was. I loved meeting you. I appreciate it. And I know we have rapid fire coming up, which is good because I'm late to a meeting. So I just sent him a message to let him know I'll be a few more minutes, but
God,
I appreciate it.
I should have asked. I typically ask what time people have a hard out.
Yeah.
So and I have to ask quickly in your most brief answer, how did you get the name Senor Pants? I meant to start with that.
It's okay. Like many years ago, I was forced to join Discord when I was playing a mobile game so I could do clan communications, right? When I got on Discord, I thought, this is silly. I'm a grown-ass man, and I am playing a mobile phone game, and I have to download a new app and communicate with people in this way using silly in-game names. So I said, I'm going to pick a silly name. And I tried for Captain Underpants, an existing IP, right? That one was taken. I tried for Captain Pants. It was taken. I tried Senor Pants. It was available. And I thought, that is funny. And so the only reason I have Senor Pants is I was on Discord for years before Web3 was a thing. And when Web3 started and Discord was the way people communicated, I was already Senor Pants. And so that name has come with me through that and become my digital identity. I changed my Twitter handle to it years ago because I was originally just Josh Vajda right on Twitter, but Senor Pants was how I was known in the Web3 world, and so it became my username and my digital identity. I wish it had a better story.
No, fantastic.
That is the truth. Yeah.
And to think that you only go by Pants is, that's how you know you made it. Just all you need is one name.
Yes. I wear shirts that just say Pants on it, and people know it's me.
Yeah, I've seen. All right, here we go. Quick, I think you know the routine here. I'm going to keep it super brief.
I'm ready.
Thank you for apologize on my behalf to whomever you're meeting with.
Do not worry about it.
Micro macro spitfire with Senor Pants. Is as brief or as elaborate as you want to be. Here we go. Favorite teacher you had growing up and one reason why?
Julie Zadalis, who taught me biology in junior high and early high school, really formed my approach to science and my desire to learn more about it. I went to college to be a genetic engineer and study genetics. That lasted about a year and a half before I realized I hated working in a lab. So Julie Zadalis.
I'm going to break this up. Usually typically I say favorite physical, but I'm gonna go favorite VFriends comic.
It's issue 2. It's not the one I collect the most of, but it's the story I like the best. There are others that I think rival it, and I'm a little bit fluid. Sometimes I say it's 8 because I love the silent comic and the Gary B. Prove it, don't say it. That comes from that. I love the lesson in it, but I keep going back to issue 2, which I think was the best kind of origin story of 2 really important characters, and the fear as a weapon is tremendously applicable. So I'll go with issue 2.
Favorite physical card you own and favorite physical comic.
Favorite physical card I own just changed. Actually, no, I'm going to keep it with, I have a very rare Series 1 Driven Dragon. They are impossible to get. The fact that I was able to track one down and get it, meaningful to me, character that I love, I'm going to go with that as my favorite card. Second question you asked, though?
Favorite physical comic.
Oh, the physical comic that I have, I mean, there's one behind me that is a markup from Kate of the Notorious Ninja, but that has to be in second place. There is no comic that comes close to the one that I had sketched by Sarah Bauman. You can see it on my Twitter today.
Gorgeous.
I submitted it. It's a front and back blank sketch cover of issue number 3 that she did a day scene on the front and a night scene on the back that was really meaningful. We talked a lot about the approach, the why, the story, and then I had that graded. It came back a 9.8, which I had no expectation of. It's a gorgeous piece, and it's going up on a custom shelf and for display on my wall forever. It's beautiful.
Amazing. Favorite IP growing up.
Transformers.
Favorite concert you've ever been to.
Oh my God. I saw BB King like 4 times. I loved every single time. Adele's concert in Atlanta, though, probably takes the cake. She doesn't tour very often. That was phenomenal. Second place would probably be Michael Bublé, who did something I've never seen any other singer do. And in an arena with 50,000 people in it, he took his monitor out, dropped his mic, walked to the end of the stage, and sang in full voice with no amplification. That moment made for an incredible concert.
Wow. Favorite
Not
movie.
even a singer who I follow. Favorite movie? Dead Poets Society.
Secret talent you have that you want to share.
I don't know that I've kept any talents I have secret. So I really do try to put things out there. Yeah, I don't have one for that. I try to expose my talents when I have them.
All right, so we got a false alarm.
I got one.
Okay.
I have a connective tissue disorder, so one of my talents is I can pull my shoulders out of joint or pop my shoulder blades off or turn my Adam's apple around. Those are party tricks more than talents necessarily, but there. Now you know, and I'm not doing it on camera.
Wow. All right, maybe another.
It's
Maybe
too
another
scary.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe another time. We had a false alarm for VeeCon 4 for 2026, but just for a fun prediction, what year and city will be the next VeeCon?
I got really close on VeeCon 2. I'm actually gonna go with where I am right now. I think that center of the country, most domestic direct flights and affordability all come into play when you're talking about everything that goes into planning a VeeCon, right? It has to be affordable. And I think Dallas is a market that fits that. So I'm going to go, I'm going to go with Texas, but specifically, I'll pick Dallas as VeeCon 4. I do hope it's Miami, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wine, beer, or coffee?
I'm going wine. Yeah, I've never been a coffee drinker. I don't drink any coffee. I do love beer, but yeah. So I'm going to stay with my original, and that is wine.
All right. Would you rather have a 2-hour group dinner experience with Gary, you and 9 or 10 other people, or a 10-minute one-on-one?
Oh man, give me the group. I love him, and I'd value one-on-one time, but the opportunity to connect with more and like-minded people and have 2 hours of conversations I can learn from that may not have been what my focus is, but somebody else's perspective, great value there. So.
And then if you had one question, he's here, he has to answer. One question, what would you have for the big guy?
How do people answer that question quickly? You put an analytical guy like me and say Gary needs to answer one question. Yeah, how about I make it an easy one? Would you sell me that damn pristine 10 Series 1 of one Gratitude Gorilla? Is that a fair question to ask the man?
Good question. I'll tell you the answer, probably no.
It's always no. It's always no, but I'm still going to ask it.
Josh, thank you so much for being on. It was really a delight talking to you and getting to know you guys. If you're listening, check out, follow Senor Pants everywhere, but definitely Whatnot to see his handsome face and
Thank
learn a
you.
little, get entertained, buy some things, and get connected. Thank you so much, Senor.
This has been so much fun. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.
We'll talk soon.